which takes 3 years to negotiate. Why does corporate news baby this guy? Go, good job, Donald. You did a deal. You did a deal. It's not a deal at all. By the way, I mean, this is what we're learning about it too. The full and comprehensive trade deal between the U.S. and the U.K. is no such thing. They were rushing to try to get it through. They didn't even know what the terms were. Lots of people don't even know what the terms are now. The rush to demonstrate progress on deals reveals rising desperation within the administration to roll back tariffs before they hit GDP growth and inflation. I mean, they already are. Take a look at these three names side by side. Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada, Anthony Albanese of Australia, Prime Minister, and right now, Robert Prevost, Pope Leo XIV. All of them together, lots of people are saying beats a reaction to Donald Trump. Even Donald Trump's own top religious advisor, this bishop, said that an American pope, if one were to ever be announced, would indicate the United States' political decline. And I think the Vatican was sending a strong message here. That's my theory right here. And hat tip for the Courier for posting it with us over there. And they did great research at the Courier. So this guy, Bishop Robert Barron, sits on the White House's Committee on Religious Liberty. And here's what they said. Cardinal George of Chicago of happy memory was one of my great mentors. And he said, look, until America goes into political decline, there won't ever be an American pope. And his point was, if America is kind of running the world politically, culturally, economically, they don't want America running the world religiously. So a sign of America's decline would be the moment the Vatican selected an American pope who shows empathy, supports migrants, supports equality. Now, the brother of the new pope, guy from Chicago, because the pope was from Chicago. He worked in Peru, said, no, my brother hates Trump's migrant policy. Like, he's really against it. He goes, I don't know how far he's going to go, but I can sure as hell tell you that maybe I shouldn't use that language there when I'm talking about a pope. Sorry. My bad. But he said, my brother, certainly doesn't support these policies at all. I'm sorry. Okay. So let's talk about the FEMA director, the interim FEMA director who Trump fired. I'm going to do a whole video on that this morning. The acting head of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, Cameron Hamilton, a big MAGA guy too, is out the day after he testified. And he said that the agency, FEMA, that he led was vital and should not be eliminated, disagreeing with President Trump and Homeland Security Secretary dog killer Kristi Noem. As Waldo Jacqueith says, one thing that Trump will not tolerate is the heads of agencies saying publicly that their agency should exist. As I said, idiocracy is charitable to the United States of America. But folks, Ted Cruz and the MAGA Republicans were hard at work. Ted Cruz proposed a bill to help military hurt by the vaccine mandate. That's the title. That's what he's focused on right there. Hurt by the vaccine mandate, to be vaccinated for troop readiness. I mean, what in the world is going on with our country right there? And by the way, well, I'll talk to you more about the Surgeon General, Casey Means, in a second, but I often get asked, Ben, where do you do your research from and how do you find these clips and how do you find stories like this? Like, take a look at this one right here. I found this one on Blind Spot, which is run by Ground News, who happens to be a sponsor of the Midas Touch Network. I can see here on their Blind Spot feature, which I use all the time, that this is being almost exclusively covered by right-wing media and some center media, but no left-wing media is covering this. So I want to bring this to our attention so you see what's going on there. So it's a great research tool, by the way, Ground News. I think it's essential nowadays to see through some of the double standards that exist in the media ecosphere. So if you want to access it yourself, and we got a great discount for you too. Just go to ground.news/MTN or scan the QR code right there. We're going to give our viewers 40% off Ground News' top tier Vantage plan, which will get you unlimited access to everything I've shown you and more. Ground News is subscriber funded, so they don't rely on ads that could also introduce bias, and subscribing supports our channel and their independent team working to keep the media transparent. Hat tip to Jordy for negotiating, my brother Jordy for negotiating that deal. Ground.news, you get 40% off. Ground.news/MTN and get 40% off Ground News top tier Vantage plan. Sweet. All right. Let's talk about, should we talk about Jeanine Pirro? Should we talk more about, Casey Means? Let's first talk about someone else who Donald Trump fired, just to show you how despicable and dastardly this regime is. Trump just fired the first black person to serve as the Librarian of Congress. She has been in that position since 2016 and is the first professional librarian to hold the position since 1974. So a qualified black woman librarian, of course, that checks the boxes for Donald Trump to say termination. As Joe Morrell says, Congress member says, today, Trump fired a patriotic public servant. The Librarian of Congress spent her entire career serving people, from helping kids learn to read to protecting some of our nation's most precious treasures. She is an American hero. And apparently that's just a threat to Donald Trump. And look, I think the American people see it. I gave a speech this week at the Milken Institute. One of my main messages when I was asked, how is the Midas Touch Network connecting with audience? I says, because we're speaking to human beings about human beings. And we can say this behavior by Donald Trump and Musk and Vance is just not right. I will not stand by idly to watch human beings here in America treat other human beings so cruelly. As I've said, it's not a debate whether there's due process or not due process. There's due process, damn it. This is the United States of America. It's simple to me. We don't bully marginalized communities in the United States of America, or we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't hate. We shouldn't spread all of these lies all the time. We shouldn't attack our allies. We shouldn't just engage in this reckless and disastrous behavior, the lack of accountability, the immaturity. That's not okay at a human level. That's not okay. And that's what I was telling the audience at the packed crowd I was speaking in front of. We just got to remember, we got to treat human beings nicely and just try to be good people. By the way, that's why Trump's net approval rating continues to plummet and plummet and plummet. Because as he treats people cruelly, as he harms the economy, as he harms people's lives, what are they focused on in the House? I mean, I showed you what Ted Cruz was doing on that Ground News research I was doing. But yeah, the U.S. House is voting all the Republicans vote to approve the legislation to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Yay! Yay, everybody! Yay! I don't want to show any Trump videos in this today. I don't want to hear his voice this morning. I'm not going to play the clip, but I'll tell you what he said. I don't want to hear his voice this morning. Okay. Donald Trump said, "You better go and buy stock now," manipulating the market. And then Donald Trump said on port traffic, the lack of ships coming into Seattle, Long Beach, even on the East Coast in Boston, he goes, "When you say that ship volume slows down, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. That means we're making money and we're not losing money." No, Donald, it means the opposite. Going back to what I said before, it's like, what are we talking about here? We know tariffs are bad. We know when ships don't arrive, that's bad. Can we use common sense? Like, let's just be real. This is Donald Trump saying about COVID, like a miracle, it's all going to go away. Inject yourself with bleach. He's doing it again in this manufactured recession that he's created. He's doing it again. He's always done this, though. If you go back to how he destroyed Atlantic City and he bankrupted his casinos back then, remember, he built 3 casinos right next to each other. He took out a huge loan and he was over leveraged. Everybody was saying, "What are you doing? Why are you building 3 casinos? You're going to bankrupt them." No, the biggest, most beautiful. I got to be 3. And he bankrupted and everybody lost their jobs. Then he blamed the city and he blamed the workers, and he makes money and he goes on to the next scam. That's why I call him the Ponzi scheme presidency. That's why I call this the rug pull presidency. Finally, again, the theme of this video, idiocracy was charitable to the United States of America. The movie Idiocracy. I'm like, where Idiocracy meets like Kim Jong-un meets the worst season of The Apprentice. I've said it before. We're all non-consensual participants in this dystopian reality weird TV show, the worst episode of The Apprentice that's never aired, that we don't want to be a part of. We just want to go about our lives. We want to spend time with our families. We want to be able to just go out and not think about this maniac making posts and behaving like a malignant narcissist at all times. That's what we want. So here's Laura